But this story is called Your Universal Hiking Guide by DEAN VAL of NUUU, UUU. Hello, I'm DEAN VAL of NUUU, Nations United Universal University. I'm a naturalist with the all-natural environment supporting all of us. And at the same time, I am the hiker, like many of you who are reading this. What I am sharing here is not just another ordinary story, but something that must be experienced and recognized to have the most fun with your life. It has taken me all of my life to get here and to be able to present what I've come to know so far. If you have the insight to read this entire book, then you might be ready to wake up even further with what I'm sharing for everyone. The NU Presentation Foundation and NUUU are here for everyone to become more aware of all the possibilities in this life. Everything is for everyone is what we demonstrate, and you can join us in everything we do for your planet Earth now. The following adventure story has a lot for you to learn and educate yourself with. You will always decide your life adventure and what you want for yourself, as I have written this book for everyone to have fun. This lifetime, I was born on a full moon in a refugee displacement camp in Würzburg, Germany, February 3, 1950. I was a male child of my Latvian mother who had fled her native country near the end of World War II. I'm not entirely sure who my real father was. After Reinis, R-E-I-N-I-S, who I lived with and thought was my dad, died in 1982, she shared a secret with me. There had been romantic encounters with her and Elliot Roosevelt, the third child of President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1949. Elliot had been holding clandestine meetings in Latvia with the Soviets in order to obtain air routes for Howard Hughes' TWA into the USSR. The most interesting part of her story, though, was that he had confided in her during their intimate moments that his father, FDR, was communicating and had in possession alien technology. The Foo Fighters, as they were called, were alien craft that were spotted many times in the European and Pacific theater during World War II. They could easily outmaneuver any Allied plane. They were just one of the many alien species involved on our planet. They were instrumental in helping the United States develop the atomic bomb. My mother and Elliot met a total of 3 times. There was never a paternal DNA test performed, so I still don't know who my real father was. Elliot died in 1990. No matter who my father was, both played a part in my past. Elliot would be instrumental in Mother joining the CIA, and even my dad and I as well. My mother had gotten separated from Reinis, my Latvian dad, during this time. By the time they located each other, it was nearing the time to flee Latvia. In Latvia, Reinis was a civil engineer who built roads and had 500 men working under him. Reinis was also part of the resistance movement in Latvia against the Soviet Union. The guerrilla fighters, which at one time numbered 40,000, were most active from 1940 to the mid-1950s. The Forest Brothers, as they called themselves, were the freedom fighters who fought to regain national independence from both Nazi and Soviet occupation. Small bands of between 5 and several dozen partisans would ambush enemy soldiers on roads in small towns and villages. These combat squads lived in well-camouflaged dugouts deep in the forest. They would avoid the larger squads. Rainus did not talk about these years much, as he was a quiet man and somewhat introverted unless he had been drinking. In later years, I did my own research and found out that the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, which was the predecessor of the CIA, assisted the Forrest brothers during the war. They would drop off teams of officers to train the resistance fighters in their work of sabotage, destruction, and general mayhem. My father took part in this for a couple of years until one of his communist friends told him he was identified and on a blacklist. My mother was a switchboard operator. In the 1940s, when callers made telephone calls, they were first connected to a switchboard operator who would then manually connect the caller to the correct circuit. She had a part to play in the resistance movement too, as she sometimes came upon valuable pieces of information. She was able to intercept a fair number of documents and encryption codes exposing Soviet operations. Sooner or later, this was not going to end well for them, because if they were found out, it meant either death or deportation to Siberia. So my dad and mom took what they could, carry on their bicycles, and pedaled 80 miles to the capital of Riga, where they boarded a retreating Nazi ship back to Germany. There, along with others who did not want to live under what was to come as Soviet domination, set up their lives for almost 5 years. Germany was in ruin after the war, and manpower was needed to start rebuilding the country. Among other tasks, my dad built wooden coffins, since his trade was carpentry, and my mom cooked potato soup in huge vats. The U.S. Occupational Army in Germany became a degenerative unit after the war. Poorly trained and ill-disciplined, they took part of the lucrative black market that developed. Cigarettes, chocolate, liquor, small foodstuffs, and especially wristwatches were highly sought after, and the U.S. soldiers had access. It is here where Elliott Roosevelt recruited my parents to work surveillance for the CIA. They were to report on what was going on with this in their detention camp. I don't have details on how this was arranged with Elliott, because my mother never disclosed everything. But one perk that came with it was that my parents got to fly to the United States instead of a long boat ride when it came time to immigrate. It was not a good time to have children, but it was time for me to come in and start a new adventure.